And we are ready to go. The 5th game with Edmonton leading the best-of-7 series 3-1. Already capping off what has been the longest season in NHL history. Fuhr stops it for his defenseman Fogelin. As the Oilers know how quickly the Flyers will try to come out here in this first period. Messier, his leading pass ahead to Napier, who sends it in. Brad Marsh wraps it around the boards, and it goes all the way down. Icing is waved off as Fuhr stops it for his veteran defenseman Kevin Lowe. Intercepted by Joe Patterson, and he is nailed into the boards there by Messier. Messier works it free. And here is Messier revving it up. Messier to the red line. Drops it for Anderson, his slapper, and it's deflected high. Messier flying, stays right with it. To the point, Jackson kicked out by Froze. Randy Gregg overskates, but Jackson does not keep it in. Leon Stickles says it offside. 52 seconds, and we go back and forth.
Well, Mike Keenan knew coming into this game that he was going to have some real difficulties up against a team that could win it right here in their own building and that could go out and party tonight, get another second Stanley Cup ring, and all of those sorts. But Mike Keenan also knows that his young players especially have gotten him through a fair amount of pressure this season. And he's looking to those young players once again tonight. But Mike Keenan is also looking to a player like Brian Propp to finally break out tonight and start leading this hockey club offensively.
Dave Poulin, who's playing with the bruised ribs, he's been wearing a flak jacket. And a reliable source had indicated that the ribs not only bruised, may even be broken. But Poulin has played through. And we have a whistle with Ed Hospodar, along with Dave Brown, number 21, looking to rattle some of the Oilers, and the penalty box door swings open immediately. Just a minute, 3 seconds into the first period. For our local systems,
you're looking at the penalty box, and that is Don Jackson sitting in it. He is accompanied by number 21, Dave Brown, who's playing his first game in this series for the Philadelphia Flyers. Brown and Jackson both get it for slashing. 1:03 is the time.
And here we go on another 4-on-4 situation, and Wayne Gretzky makes his first appearance on the ice. Gretzky with 6 goals in this series, 4 on a 4-on-4 situation. And now one of the Oilers is slammed into his net. It could be Paul Coffey.
That's exactly who it is. And he really looked as though he got caught off guard when he hit that post. That really came as a surprise. Brian Propp was in there, and he just collided with Coffey. And you can see how Coffey went into the post, hitting his back first. Propp kind of got that elbow up a little bit and really caught Coffey off balance. And boy, the Oilers sure don't need that if they're hoping to clinch things here tonight. Paul Coffey has been a real integral force throughout the course of the whole playoffs for them.
What an omen that may be right there. Paul Coffey, who has smashed all defensive scoring records in this playoff, and Glenn Sather having his few words in the direction of Brian Propp. Coffey, who is also in the running for the Conn Smythe Trophy, is the most valuable player in this playoff. Now slowly takes a deep breath as he skates to the bench.
Well, he came off on his own free accord, so that looks pretty good, at least for Paul Coffey being able to continue to play. When he went into that post, I think he hit his lower back, and as a result, he may be a little bit sore, but I don't think it's going to be anything that will keep Paul Coffey out of the lineup here tonight.
It was game 3 in which the Oilers beat the Flyers 4-3. As more confrontations, Crossman and Fogelin, the veteran defenseman, who generally stay away from that kind of a thing, showing you how early it is getting testy between these two teams. It was in game 3 the Oilers won 4-3 that they scored 3 times when the sides were 4-on-4. Here is Curry looking for his first goal in the series. Drops it back to Fogelin. And Crossman starts out. Flyers, by the way, no slouch on a 4-on-4 situation. Also one of the better teams, with each team skating a man down. And here is Coffey testing out that back. He is dragged down by Craven. Craven looked at the referee, no call. Ron Sutter breaking in. Kicked out by Fuhr, who stops Sutter on a penalty shot in their last game. Gretzky goes back forward and now has some room. It is Gretzky roaring out for the Oilers. Gretzky around Poulin. Charlie Huddy, and Poulin takes it away from him. Poulin propping Marsh, a 3-on-2 for the Flyers. Poulin, and it's Coffey who gets back. Poulin still has it. Dvorak closes in, and he can't get the shot off. Look to pass it off instead. Two number 9s, Messier all over Dvorak. And March skates it in. 2.5 minutes gone by. First period, no score. 33 seconds to go in the penalties. Dvorak plays it ahead. Backhand. Kicked out by Fuhr. Marsh the shot right in front. And Poulin chasing it down. Here's Dvorak. Gets to it. Slides it around Messier. As it's the Flyers now on the 4-on-4. Keeping the pressure on Edmonton. Gretzky slaps it out. And coming back for it is Dave Poulin. And this will be an icing against the Philadelphia Flyers. 3 minutes into the first period of play. No score here at Edmonton, and just 3 seconds on the dual penalties to Jackson of Edmonton and Brown of Philadelphia.
I think the Flyers tried to come out and just slow the Edmonton Oilers down by maybe just doing a little bit of chippy hockey, playing that way. It may have worked so far. You can see here this move number 14, Ron Sutter, made on Charlie Huddy. Got right through and then was just a little bit off balance. Still got his shot away, though. Fuhr just standing his ground and making the save. Getting back to the Flyers, they have really come out and at least been able to contain the Edmonton Oilers, stop them from skating, and that is going to be a big part of their game tonight.
Ron Sutter stopped in the penalty shot, but you remember it was game 1, and on a breakaway, he scored the winning goal to give the Flyers their lone victory in this series. The face-off to the right of Bob Froese. Off the face, and Froese quickly gets the pad out there. Froese has played in 2 games for a total of 55 minutes as Messier goes in offside. And in the 55 minutes against Edmonton, Froese has given up just 16 minutes and 49 seconds left in this first period. Yari Curry on the bench, perhaps plotting his first goal in this playoff series. And the Philadelphia Flyers, who have done the job on Curry, also fearful that he could break out in bunches. It is Napier moving in, slaps it cross ice, and it's taken by Joe Patterson. 3-on-2 for the Flyers. Sinisalo breaking behind the defense. And he is jolted by Jackson. Gets by Howe, and Mark Howe with Anderson right on his back. Sinisalo shoots it ahead. Zezel cross ice. And it is Zezel. Hits this man Patterson, but the whistle blows, an offside call against Philadelphia. Let's go to Al Childwood.
Al, the return address on this box says Hockey Hall of Fame, Toronto, Ontario, Canada. It may be open tonight, it may be not. If it does, this is what we'll find inside. The Stanley Cup that Lord Stanley donated in 1892. Next to it, over here, the box containing the Conn Smythe Trophy. And, of course, the awardee of this trophy will remain a mystery until this game is over. Back to you and Gary.
Gary, if the Oilers win tonight and clinch the Cup, the Conn Smythe Award can go down to tonight's game. We see 3 potential winners on the Oilers.
I really think that it has come down to tonight's game, Al. Couldn't agree with you more. Wayne Gretzky, Paul Coffey, and Grant Fuhr, in my estimation. A lot of people feel that Mark Messier has accomplished just as much, but it is really close.
Gretzky in the last 2 games, 5 goals. And, you know, quietly, he is right behind Yari Curry. Curry, who has 18 goals for the playoffs, 1 shy of the all-time record. Gretzky now has 16. And here he comes, looking for 17. He has Krushelnyski on his left. Crossman is banged into the boards by Krushelnyski. The Flyers trying to get it out, and they do. We are 4 minutes into the first period, no score. Coffey with Poulin taking the body. Krushelnyski slaps it across to Curry. Back the other way. Too long for Gretzky, and Froese leaves it go. Crossman off the boards, and it goes through prop to center ice. Coffey who is actually the leading scorer for the Oilers against the Flyers in this series with a goal and 7 assists. Gretzky has 6 goals and 1 assist. Charlie Huddy takes it in. Kicked out by Froese. Huddy puts it in front. Kuselniski takes a dive. No call is made. Huddy out to the point. His shot. Here's Curry. Scores!
You just knew sooner or later Jari Kurri was going to score. He's been held off the scoreboard for 4 games. That's the longest ever this season. Here's the shot. It was almost a shoveling type of shot that Kurri got away. Gretzky had an excellent opportunity on a deflection just prior to this, but it was Jari Kurri who finally put that puck by Bobby Froese. Jari Kurri's first goal of the Stanley Cup Finals.
And this is after he scored 12 goals in the Chicago series. And he ties the all-time playoff record in 1 year of 19 goals. Tied with Reggie Leach of the Philadelphia Flyers. And now Kurri has the rest of this game to become the first 20-goal scorer ever in Stanley Cup history. So Jari Kurri, who scored 71 goals during the course of the regular season, has struck for number 19 here in the playoffs. It has been a 90-goal season for Jari Kurri. Gretzky and Huddy get the assists at 4:54. Here's Patterson, the rebound, and he hits it off the side of the net. 1-0. The Oilers jump in front. An Oilers team that has not lost in the playoffs here at home. 9-0 their record this year. And they have won 15 straight at home in the playoffs, tying the Montreal Canadiens for that record.
Well, this team, the Edmonton Oilers, cannot stop at that one, though, because watch, the Philadelphia Flyers come right back down the ice. Good shot. And then Patterson gets an excellent opportunity here. Just couldn't quite find the open room. Grant Fuhr moving very quickly from his right to his left. Let's watch it again. Fuhr gives off the rebound, and Joe Patterson just comes streaking in there, lets the shot go quickly, maybe just a little bit too quickly. He is coming down the right wing side, being a left-hand shot. It was a little difficult for him possibly to get that shot away, just the way that he was balanced at the time.
Fuhr playing his 18th straight Stanley Cup game. He played the last 12 for the Oilers in the regular season, so this is his 30th straight. And remember, Fuhr was not in net when the Oilers won the series last year against the Islanders from the point. And it is deflected back the other way. Fuhr was injured in that Islander final. Here is Lindstrom, his shot, scores!
Surprises in playoffs for the Edmonton Oilers has been the play of Willie Lindstrom. Watch, number 19, he goes down the right wing board side, hooked a little bit by Mark Howe, just winds up with a good wrist shot right along the ice, beats Froese on the stick side, and really, when you can see the way that Lindstrom got off that shot, he pretty much knew where he was trying to go with it, but he wasn't in the greatest position when he took that shot. But Willie Lindstrom really has been a surprise during the course of playoffs this year, and a very pleasant surprise.
The 33-year-old veteran, he had scored goals in each of the first 2 games, including the game winner in game number 2. And the Oilers now lead it by the score of 2-0. A rough start for Bobby Froese in his start here against Edmonton. Lindstrom the goal, Messier the assist at 5:31. So 2 goals within 37 seconds for the Edmonton Oilers. They lead it 2-0. So much for being over-anxious.
Well, let's take a look at that goal by Willie Lindstrom one more time. And again, the way that he got away from that partial hook by Mark Howe, he showed persistency on the part of Willie Lindstrom, and then a great shot, he got away.
The Oilers hoping history repeats. Last year, they split the first 2 games with the Islanders and then won 3 in a row to capture the cup here in Game 5. It has been the same scenario, splitting the first 2 in Philadelphia and taking the next 2 here, and this is Game 5. Poulin shot. Fuhr just standing up on the screen, and was in the right place. Poulin again. Craven keeps it in. Marsh at the point as he was hurried by Anderson, and flying the other way of the Oilers, it is Messier. Puts on the brakes. Anderson picks it up, looking for Napier in front. And it comes back to center ice. 13 minutes, 20 seconds to go in his first period. The Oilers pouring it on. 2-0, they lead. Curry and Lindstrom, the goal scorers. Paul Coffey rounds the net. Gets away from Rich Sutter. Right onto the stick of Curry. Curry to Krushelnyski. Through the legs. Gretzky back to the point. Huddy fires, and it's deflected wide. And Rich Sutter on the go. Cross ice to Howe. Howe, his shot is smothered as Huddy comes back, and then he jolts Howe into the boards. Derek Smith kicked out. Rebound. Rich Sutter scores. The Flyers come back. And it's a 2-1 hockey game.
Well, the fans here in Edmonton booing that one. You can see right from the point, Derek Smith gets off a good shot. Number 24, there's the rebound. It comes out. Rich Sutter, number 15, just has enough patience to hang on, to get himself into good position. Now he knows he can get that shot up. His only concern is making sure he's got the room. Lee Fogelin, I believe it was coming across and almost blocked that shot. I'm sorry, it was Charlie Huddy that came across that crease. And Charlie Huddy may have been able to stop that shot, but he just went a little bit too far, took himself out of the crease.
So Rich Sutter, who scored in the first 46 seconds of game number 4, certainly stirs the confidence of the Flyers here in the first period. Derek Smith gets the assist. 7:23 is the time. 3 quick starts in the 3 games here in Edmonton. Ed Hospodar. And he winds it around. Fuhr stops it for his defenseman, Fogelin. Fogelin plays it on the stick of Lowe. Out it goes on the left wing to Dave Hunter. And Lindstrom caroms it around. And that also has to help the confidence of Bobby Froese. Offside call against the Edmonton Oilers. We have 11 minutes and 57 seconds to go in this first period.
I was talking to Mike Keenan yesterday about this player, Rick Tocchet, and the Flyers have so many good young players, but this man particularly has got a real keen sense for going for that net with his shot, and he has got a real bullet of a drive. Rick Tocchet, pretty aggressive player. I think he's going to have a very bright future in the NHL, especially with that shot and the way that he can get it off, and he works hard to get in that position.
A 6th-round draft pick, only 20 years old. Tocchet, who led the Flyers in penalty minutes with 181. 2-1, the Oilers leading it, and we go all the way back the other way.
Don Jackson from the Oilers, who has sat out some games during the course of playoffs and has been inserted back into the lineup, of course, to play along with his partner, Randy Gregg. They have been inseparable for the course of the last few years until this season. Now, Mike Keenan right now realizes that that one goal that his team has scored is a big turnaround, because being down 2-0 against this Edmonton Oilers team early in the game can really be devastating to your hockey club confidence-wise. But with Richie Sutter coming back and scoring that goal, now the Flyers are right back into it.
Sutter, who's played only 3 games in this series and has scored 2 goals. That is Rich Sutter, who earlier in the season was sent down to the minors. Mark Howe, a nice move to get away from Lindstrom. And the Flyers on the attack again. It's the Sutter twins. Rich fires, and he just missed it wide. Ron Sutter in the corner, and he is smashed there by Jackson. And Lindstrom weaving it out for Edmonton. He's being trailed by McClellan. Lindstrom and Froese really had problems handling that heavy shot. Derek Smith right off the side of his net. And we have a whistle and a penalty coming up. There is Hospodar along the ice and McClellan.
Ed Hospodar has been trying to stay out of this place very hard the last couple of games. Well, he's finally in there. Ed Hospodar gets a 2-minute minor here. 8:45 is the time, and you can see Hospodar here guilty of holding, and as a result, he's going to the penalty box. That was his old pal Kevin McClellan did he drag down to the ice.
The Edmonton Oilers, after their power play was dormant in the first 3 games, 1 of 14, scored 4 of 7 in game number 4. And they've been working it from the points. That was the change. It is Coffey. Side on net. Gretzky stopped by Froze. And it goes all the way down. A change in strategy for Edmonton in that 4th game. They generally like to go into the middle, into the slot area. But now we'll work the puck between their point men and also look for that quick shot on the point. Anderson slips through Howe. He has Messier in front. Anderson digs it loose. Charlie Huddy, who had one of the power play goals. Messier can't hold on. And it is cleared but not out. Coffey keeps it in to Messier. Cross ice, Huddy with time. And it's intercepted by Howe. Huddy was looking for Gretzky. He had his shot but passed it up. A minute gone by, the penalty to Hospodar. And now it is Coffey winding it up in his own zone. Coffey comes to the red line, over the blue line, and he wheels it around. Marsh beats Krushelnyski to the puck, but Gretzky runs it down. Huddy is bumped by Ron Sutter, and there it goes all the way down the ice.
I really thought that the Philadelphia Flyers might change their penalty killing strategy just a little bit tonight. Start keying in on the Edmonton points because those points were deadly to them, scoring 2 of the 4 power play goals in the last game.
25 seconds left in the power play. Dvorak wraps it off the boards and gets the job done. The Flyers are a very effective penalty killing unit. Only second of the Oilers this year in shorthanded goals. Gretzky could not sneak it in with 9 seconds left in the power play.
Well, it was very close, but Gretzky couldn't quite keep it in. Meanwhile, Randy Gregg getting up a little bit slowly. Remember, Gregg, who played in last game, but did not play here on Sunday night, or Saturday night, I should say, because of an injury. You can see Gregg going down pretty hard right here after Big Brad Marsh put him in that position. Randy Gregg suffered a knee injury and had some difficulties, but very surprisingly was right back in the lineup here in Edmonton on Tuesday night.
Edmonton 2 and Philadelphia 1. The Oilers coming out quickly and scoring 2 goals within 37 seconds. Curry and Lindstrom scoring, but Rich Sutter came back. So the 3 goals were scored in a span of 2 minutes and 29 seconds. 9:20 left in period 1. Dvorak, and he gets it out. And the penalty to Hospodar is over. Peter Zezel, the rookie for the Flyers, shoots it ahead to Sinisalo, who takes it onside. Sinisalo is bodied out by Kevin Lowe. McClellan with Zezel chasing after him. And it is McClellan weaving his way out. McClellan can't get a good shot off. Dvorak seeing quite a bit of ice time here in this first period. Joe Patterson with Marsh helping out. And Lindstrom shoots it back. 8 minutes, 39 seconds left in period number 1. Froze. And it's the Flyers coming out. Craven, who has been the big scorer in the last 2 games for Philadelphia. Wheeling on Jackson, and back the other way comes Gretzky. And he has room. 3-on-2. Gretzky looking. And he's shot, saved by Froze. So the Oilers had several trailers on that play. For our local systems, we'll pause now. USA Sports is bringing you the Stanley Cup.
It's really easy to figure out how the Edmonton hockey team got its name. It's derived from the vast petroleum resources that lie under the Alberta soil. Behind me, one of the rigs that is used to extract the black gold from the ground. We've come to the Alberta Petroleum Industry Training Center. And I've drawn the only logical conclusion. This is where people come to learn how to be Oilers.
Well, the well gushing at the start of this first period. 2 quick goals by the Oilers. But Philadelphia striking back, and it's a 2-1 Edmonton lead. 8 minutes left in the first. Ron Sutter chasing it along with Randy Gregg. Gregg gets there first. There's the whistle, and we'll come all the way back to the Philadelphia zone.
Well, maybe for the last time this year, we'll remind you that this game is authorized under television rights granted by the National Hockey League. It's intended solely for the private non-commercial use of our audience. any publication, reproduction, retransmission, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of the National Hockey League is strictly prohibited.
Well, in the last game, Gary, the Philadelphia Flyers scored a goal in the first 46 seconds. They had a penalty shot. They had a shorthanded goal. It still didn't help them. Perhaps coming from behind, and they look good in game number 3, although falling short is more to their suiting.
And yet it really hasn't been over the course of the season the Philadelphia Flyers' strong point, as it isn't most teams' strong point to come from behind. Percentages aren't very good when you have to play catch-up hockey, but I think the whole character, and that's what you're referring to, of this Philadelphia team could well prove different tonight.
Peter Zezel brings it out to center, shoots it in. Derek Smith is after it, along with Ron Sutter, and that puck is golfed over the glass, and a Stanley Cup playoff souvenir into the crowd.
Charlie Huddy was one of those players that I had talked to just prior to the game, and in fact, I think a lot of the guys were a little concerned about the great raving and going on here in Edmonton yesterday. Folks, you just couldn't believe how the radios and the media were really blasting away the fact that the party is tonight, the convention center is where it's at. It's almost as though there wasn't even a game. No wonder this young club was referred to as being a little cocky and confident. All the people here in Edmonton are pretty much that way in reference to their hockey.
Charlie Huddy, who signed with the Oilers as a free agent. Number 22 gets it out to Curry. There is Gretzky now roaming at center ice and looking to pick up that puck and go with it. Huddy, with 2 men on him, plays it off the boards, and Crossman, a very tired defenseman, sends it in. Right in front, Fuhr looking at it as Poulin places it down. Here's Crossman heading in. Blocked by the defense. Kept in by Philadelphia. And now it's the Oilers just shooting out to take the pressure off. 7 minutes left, period number 1. Coffey misses on the pass. A near giveaway to Poulin. Dvorak plays it to center ice. And Gretzky gets it onto the stick of Coffey. Krushelnyski heading in. And he is banged by Ron Sutter, who comes all the way back. Don Jackson, along with Rich Sutter, as it's slapped to center ice. Erickson fields it there. Krushelnyski holds him. And now the Oilers having problems advancing, but it is McClellan who skates it out. McClellan, one of the heroes for the Oilers in last year's final. No penalty is called there. The crowd responds. Hunter with a man in front. Hunter staying with it. Centering pass. Lindstrom kicked out by Froese. Lindstrom dead on, got the shot off. 6 minutes left in period number 1. Al Albert along with Gary Green and Al Troutwig and Mike Liut bringing you the Stanley Cup playoffs on USA. Mark Howe wraps it around. Lowe. They say he kept it in. And now Edmonton chases it back. Lee Fogelin. And Kevin Lowe returns to Fogelin, and he has Tocchet right on him. So the Flyers forechecking and swarming. They have no other recourse here in Game 5. Tocchet will have to wait because Craven is in the zone. Crossman regroups. 5:15 left in period 1. Oilers with a 1-goal lead. Messier and Anderson cut in. Messier cross ice. And Marsh now finds the puck. Brad Marsh, the veteran, plays it out ahead to Craven. Craven, who had a shorthanded goal against the Oilers. Mark Napier puts it ahead to Messier. Messier over the line, pulls the trigger, and it's steered into the corner by Bobby Froese. Crossman, lead pass to Tocchet. His long shot, and easily steered into the corner by Fuhr. Marsh hitting Fuhr. The net was open, but it's intercepted by Gretzky. Gretzky wheeling on Dvorak. Behind the back to Coffey. He shoots, scores!
by Coffey, but what a pass by number 99. You know, every time this guy's mom and dad shows up for a game, he does something spectacular. I think his pass, this backhand pass to Coffey is pretty spectacular. He knew exactly where Coffey was coming. And that's exactly what Paul Coffey and Wayne Gretzky do very well. Coffey rushes up with the play, just like a right winger in Yari Curry's position right here. He flicks his wrists and puts that puck by Bobby Froese.
And it's 3-1 in favor of the Oilers with 4 minutes and 20 seconds remaining in period number 1. And right now it is Rich Sutter right on the scene as you watch Gretzky setting up Coffey once more. From coast to coast in all 50 states, it's the Stanley Cup playoffs on USA.
He tried to play for as long as he could on a gimpy knee, but finally the knee gave out. Pelle Lindbergh on the sidelines tonight, the goaltender for Philadelphia. He'll be my guest at the end of the first period. After that, we'll take a look at Old Edmonton, 1885. Only 7 years before Lord Stanley donated the cup to hockey.
And Brian Lewis, the referee, sorting things out, tempers flaring after the Oilers have taken a 3-1 lead.
Well, let's take a look at this goal one more time. The backhand pass by Gretzky, but watch Coffey. When he comes in, he's got his head up all the way. He's looking, seeing how much room Bobby Froese is going to give him. He's got his target, and he finds his mark.
Coffey, his 11th goal of the playoffs, which is a record for a defenseman. Gretzky on the assist at 15:31. And Gary Green, what about Bobby Froese?
Well, I don't think Bobby Froese has been necessarily sharp tonight by any means, but it's a very difficult situation to come into, Al, when you have to face the hottest scoring machine in hockey and you haven't played, or at least you haven't started a game during the course of the playoffs this season.
Brian Lewis has called a penalty, a roughing penalty on Jackson of the Oilers at 15:40, so the Flyers now with an opportunity to get one back. But the Flyers have been disastrous on the power play. They have scored just 2 of 23 attempts in this series. Howe on the screen and the tip by Cecil. Crossman from the point. Howe fires, kick save, rebound in front. Cecil shot, and that's off the side of the net. Pop gets it back to his point man. Howe again the quick wrist shot, and the rebound goes wide. Gretzky able to get it back to his defenseman.
You can see that Brian Propp was really hustling around out there. Sinisalo and Propp, this is their opportunity to redeem themselves really in this series. Mike Keenan expects that Sinisalo and Propp have got to score in order for them to win. Well, this is their opportunity.
Each have been held to just 1 goal in the series. Sinisalo playing with a bad shoulder. Hardly can shoot. Here is Cecil. And of course the Flyers missing Tim Kerr desperately. Propp is covered by Lowe. Fogelin races in and clears it out. Here's a break. It is Curry with Hunter. And a penalty coming up against Philadelphia. There goes the power play. So the speed of Curry, the speed of the Oilers, helping equalizing the matter on the ice. We'll be back to the Northlands Coliseum with 3:13 left in the first period. Oilers lead by 2.
47.
Well, Doug Crossman sitting in the penalty box right now, and that is because of his hooking infraction. 16:47 was the time, and that killed the Philadelphia Flyers power play opportunity. And in 53 seconds, first of all, we take a look at that hooking penalty by Crossman. In 53 seconds, the Edmonton Oilers will get their chance on the power play.
Down to 3 minutes left as Messier brings it out, looking for Anderson in front. Marsh ties him up, and Anderson right on the scene. Anderson wheeling, Messier. Anderson being driven from behind by Dvorak. So tough to remove from the puck, as is Messier. But Marsh does it there. Dvorak hit from behind by Anderson. Messier swatting at it. And Poulin kicks it out to Dvorak. Playing perhaps his final game as a Flyer. Lowe goes between the legs, and Messier rolls it in. The Oilers will now be a man advantage as Gretzky and Curry step on the ice. It is shot all the way down, And an icing is called as the teams were at equal strength. Now the power play for Edmonton. 1:03 in the penalty to Doug Crossman.
And this is when Paul Coffey and Charlie Huddy will no doubt see some action back at the points. You can remember that in the last game, Coffey and Huddy both scored on power play attempts, and those were great shots coming from the blue line.
The crowd chanting, the cup stays here. And the Edmonton Oilers with a 3-1 lead, 2:16 left in the first period. And on the power play, a chance right here to really do damage to the Flyers. Krushelnyski with Curry and Gretzky. Huddy and Coffey will be poised at the points. Ron Sutter will take the draw. It goes to Huddy. Coffey takes the look. Right in on net. With Krushelnyski parked in front. Curry, very patient Oiler team. Coffey fires, scores!
He's deadly. From that point, when he gets that pass, you realize how difficult that is to take the shot at the same time as you're receiving the pass. The timing that is involved is just unbelievable. The way that Coffey is able to get that shot away, and then you think about the accuracy of the shot. Let's watch and how it is set up. Charlie Huddy does a pretty good job of passing that puck quickly before any Flyer could get out there on Paul Coffey. He just let her go, and it beat Bobby Froese.
Goaltender who has no time to get across, and that bullet shot, Froese just had it in the glove, but it was too hard. And fired right through. It is 4-1 in favor of the Oilers. By the way, the backup goaltender, as McClellan overskates, but an offside is called. Darren Jensen is the backup goaltender for the Flyers, who play this year in Hershey. And he may be nervous right now, wondering whether he may see some action. Coffey gets the goal, his second of this game, 12th of the playoffs. Huddy and Curry get the assists at 17:57, the power play goal for the Oilers.
Kevin McClellan, the aggressive center iceman, going to the bench right now, but boy, the Flyers are in trouble here. They were in trouble coming into this game, but down 4-1 right now. Only 1:44 remaining on the clock in this first period of play. The fans are revved up, and it's quite obvious, so are the Edmonton Oilers.
Coffey taking great pride in breaking the records that had been established before by the great ones, the names of Bobby Orr and Brad Park and Dennis Potvin. And now Paul Coffey owns all the defensive records for scoring in playoffs, for goals, for assists, and for points.
You got to give this man an awful lot of credit. The captain of the Philadelphia Flyers, Dave Poulin, he has been injured. Al, you discussed earlier in this period the possibility of, are those ribs bruised or are they broken? Forget about the ribs. He's also got a bad knee that has given him some real trouble during the course of playoffs, but he still goes out there and plays hurt. He's doing the best he can, but you can just know what Dave Poulin can do when he's healthy. Bob's got to only be going about 60% right now.
The hand for the Oilers is Dave Semenko, number 27, who played for this Edmonton team when they were in the WHA. Steps on the ice, a fan favorite here, along with Billy Carroll, number 20, and Pat Hughes, number 16. Hughes takes a run at Zessel, and it's shot in. Billy Carroll, who was on 3 New York Islanders Stanley Cup teams, going for his 4th cup. Here's Dave Brown for the Flyers, and Pat Hughes loses on a poke check. Zessel has Hospodar, but it's off of a Edmonton skate. And here's a break, and here is Carroll with Semenko, a 2-on-1. Carroll, and it's blocked by a sliding Marsh. Anderson cutting in. He slaps it, and it goes wide. 50 seconds left in the first period.
You wonder how Glenn Anderson can keep his balance after all the pushing and shoving that's going on to try and take him off of it.
Fogelin puts it in front. And Marsh just getting the pressure off. The Flyers just want to get out of this period. 30 seconds left. Oilers 4 and the Flyers 1.
Glenn say they're inserting Billy Carroll into the lineup tonight. And of course, with Billy Carroll, Pat Hughes, Dave Semenko, those type of players that don't get a great deal of ice time, you just know they're going to come out here and give every last thing they possibly have in tonight's game.
Remember, the Oilers led 4-1 in game number 3. That was going into the third period. And the Flyers came back with 2 goals. So the Flyers have more of a game to come back on, but the Oilers may have learned the lesson in game number 3. They know can't sit back, they can't retreat, they can't get too fancy against Philadelphia. That's what happened in game number 3. 15 seconds left. Mark Napier. And it is Anderson looking for some more. An offside call against the Oilers.
You're going to see a lot of Rich and Ron Sutter out there tonight. Funny thing, Rich Sutter apparently has got a bad leg, and Ron Sutter went to the team doctor yesterday and said to him, look, he said, before you work on Rich's leg, he said, just tell him that it's going to be all right. Put a little salve on it, and it'll be all right. Tell him that we Sutters play lame. And that's exactly what they really does go on out there on the ice. Rich and Ron Sutter, very determined players. Ron Sutter said to me after the game the other night, he said, you're not going in any Edmonton Oilers dressing room and presenting any cup after the course of the next game.
Hospodar as the siren ends, and a great 20 minutes for the Edmonton Oilers. Tonight it's against the Flyers in Game 5 of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Froze especially shaky on those first 2 goals, and that certainly set the tone for the Oilers and the Philadelphia Flyers. Period number 2 is underway as Kevin Lowe plays it off the boards right in front as Vogelin steers it back to the blue line, and the Flyers shoot it back in. Graham Fuhr on the right wing, Anderson. Brad Marsh having some problems, and there he is. Messier all over him. Worked free by Anderson and cleared back to center ice. Here's a 2-on-1 for the Flyers. It is Tocchet. Goes wide and unable to get the pass off to Patterson. Messier back the other way with Anderson and Napier. They're flying out 3-on-2. Messier walks in. Comes right in front as the Flyers boomerang back the other way. Poulin. Here's the shot. Save. Rebound right in front. Dvorak from the point. And Coffey, who has scored the last 2 goals in this game. Coffey rushing in. And Dvorak takes it away. A minute gone by. Here's Gretzky right in front. Goes around, shoots. Froze able to get a piece of that one. As Gretzky looking to go upstairs. Gretzky in pursuit. But the puck bounds around for Crossman. And he shoots it out. A quick start for period number 2. Charlie Huddy shoots it ahead. And it is Big Dave Brown at 6'5", lumbering over the line. Gets by Coffey. Takes a look in front with Propp waiting for the pass. Gretzky hooks it ahead. Curry on a breakaway. It is Curry all alone on Froze. Curry with a breakaway from 90 feet in. And Froze may have gotten a piece of that. Jackson winding behind his net, being forechecked by Craven. Todd Bergen making his first appearance on the ice. Sinisalo in front, and it is smothered. Curry coming back to dive in front of his goaltender. Craven. And Mark Howe in deep. Craven with Bergen. Howe. Get on, shot, block. And it is Hunter, stick handling at center ice. Poke checked away from Gretzky. Ron Sutter with a move. Sutter fires, blocked in front by Kevin Lowe. And Hunter with 3 Flyers back. Three minutes into the second period. Flyers attacking again. Ron Sutter shoots it in the corner. Derek Smith knocked down by Fogelin. You're watching the Stanley Cup on USA. We'll be back in a moment.
Well, as you look at the Edmonton Oilers bench, you got a glimpse of Jari Kurri, the man that really lost an opportunity to put this team ahead 5-1. Here's Kurri on the breakaway. The question was, did Bobby Froese get a piece of it? I don't think so, now that we see it from that angle, which is a difficult angle to judge. Bobby Froese seemed to react a little slowly there as well. That glove came up, but the puck had already gone by. I think Jari Kurri just missed the net.
That was almost like a penalty shot without the thought process before, because Kurri broke in outside the red line. He had a clear sailing over 90 feet in on Froese.
Wayne Gretzky stayed way back, in fact, in Edmonton's end zone. He was just watching the play. Nobody could really do too much to help Jari Kurri out. He was so far out in the lead.
So it remains 4-1 in favor of the Oilers in game number 5. Oilers looking to clinch it right here. Patterson long shot, and the long rebound goes by the incoming Flyer. Here's Napier chasing with Hospodar. Hospodar gets some help from Miroslav Dvorak. And the puck at center ice. Charlie Huddy. Cross ice to his defensive mate Kevin Lowe. Anderson, who tried to slip behind enemy lines, but unable to get the puck.
Mark Napier playing with that mouth and chin shield. That was because of the fact he missed a couple of teeth. He had him knocked out when he collided with Ed Hospodar, and all that was made of that, Mark Napier said, I think it was accidental. I don't really believe Ed Hospodar did it on purpose. You can see Ed Hospodar in the picture, number 17. He had his nose broken in the game Tuesday night. We did see the cut on his nose, but it was also broken.
With a score, the Edmonton Oilers 4 and the Philadelphia Flyers 1.
Flyers could be in some trouble here, Al. Rick Tocchet is sitting in the penalty box, and he's got a 2-minute minor coming up to him. 3:43 was the time. It was for slashing, and this gives the Edmonton Oilers an opportunity on the power play, and Mike Keenan's not too happy with that call. I think that the Philadelphia Flyers, the way they came out in this second period, they had a little spurt of energy, but it may have been nervous energy. They may believe that they can come back in this game, but they may have also been concerned with the fact that this Edmonton Oilers team can also embarrass you. And with a 4-1 lead after the first period of play, that could have been a high possibility and still can.
The Oilers have been held in check by the Flyers. They had only 13 goals in the first 4 games. Just around 3 goals a game. Coming out of a Chicago series, they're scoring 6 per game. Offside called, so we'll come all the way back.
Wayne Gretzky, he's not playing, except with Jari Kurri, with the same left winger. Of course, that's nothing unusual for Wayne Gretzky. Esa Tikkanen is not in the lineup tonight, and therefore not playing on Wayne Gretzky's left wing side. Gretzky, funny thing, he went over to Esa Tikkanen apparently in the last game and said to Tikkanen, after Tikkanen was really playing fairly aggressively, he said, look, you're playing with Jari Kurri and Wayne Gretzky out here. You're not playing with Dave Semenko, so easy on the aggressiveness.
Gretzky picks it up at center, and then he wraps it in. Crossman digs for and gets there first. Charlie Huddy closes in, drills it, rebound in front, and Poulin clears it out to Propp. Propp this year, 7 shorthanded goals. Looking for one right there. He was second in the league to Gretzky, who had 11. And it is Coffey rolling out. Coffey leaves it for Kurri. Back it goes to Coffey. Cross ice, Gretzky fires. And Huddy takes a long look. Gretzky winds, kicked out, rebound Krushelnyski, put it out of the stick of Kurri. Coffey, he drills it, save, rebound in front. And Marsh clears it for Philadelphia. 45 seconds to go on the Edmonton power play. Certainly getting their shots off. Crossman, shorthanded, moves in. And Coffey lead pass to Gretzky. With Mark Howe back. Gretzky putting on the move. Right in front. As Napier's shot goes wide. Coffey from the point. Looking. Finds Messier. Drops it for low. Coffey. Right in front. And it's cleared out.
Well, on that last shift, you could see that Patterson and Poulin had played the 2 points very high. They're obviously very concerned about Paul Coffey getting that shot away. Coffey now off the ice.
Coffey with 2 goals here tonight, 1 on the power play. And this power play is over, so the team's at equal strength. 4-1, the Oilers lead. Looking to win the Stanley Cup here tonight. Murray Craven. Zezel in on the scene. The trailer was Erickson, but he missed. 6 minutes into the second period of play. Fuhr wraps it around, and it is McClellan waiting on the boards. Long pass as he was looking for Anderson. And the icing call, and now some extra activity between Marsh for the Flyers and Hunter for the Oilers.
Dave Hunter got in there very quickly and had some words to say to Marsh, and of course Kevin McClellan came in there right after.
For our local systems, we'll pause now. The Stanley Cup on USA.
Well, there's Paul Coffey. He's looking right at us. 2 goals he scored in this game, and that really puts him in a good situation for possibly the Conn Smythe trophy that'll be awarded at the end. Here's the Mark Napier near miss, and you could see that Napier, when he took that pass on the backhand, I thought for a minute that it went in because I just lost sight of the puck.
So did the fans behind Bobby Froese. Leon Stickel, the veteran linesman, will drop the puck between Mark Messier, last year the Conn Smythe winner for the Oilers, and Peter Zezel. Number 25 gets it back to Brad Marsh. It is blocked. Lindstrom still fighting for the puck. McClellan, his shot. The long rebound. Marsh lost his stick, but stays right with it. Looking to get the pin, and he does.
That puck was still loose, but I think Brian Lewis felt it in the safety of all and in the best interest of this game. Let's get a whistle because the Flyers swarmed very quickly right in on top. And Brad Marsh, who did not have a stick, was bound and determined that he was going to get a stoppage of play. Brad Marsh had a little bit of trouble here once again, just not being quick enough to come back. Kevin McClellan, the big shot coming, the rebound, and now Marsh, without his stick, makes a good move here. He uses his skate, pushes that rebound off into the corner, and then tried to tie it up. He got a little help, though, from referee Brian Lewis.
So Brad Marsh, in his 7th season, is 4th with the Flyers. Came over from Calgary in a deal for captains. Mel Bridgman sent from Philadelphia to the Flames. Grant Fuhr, who was not in this position last year when the Oilers wrapped it up in game number 5 against the Islanders. He had separated his shoulder earlier in the series, so it was Andy Moog who played the final game. Wayne Gretzky, 24 years old, wondering what he's going to be like when he reaches his peak.
Ed Sater, the assistant coach to Mike Keenan of the Philadelphia Flyers, is looking down ice and looking to see whether or not his players are positioned properly for that faceoff.
13.5 minutes left in this second period. 4-1, the Oilers leading Philadelphia. Coffey spun around by Tocchet, and Tocchet will go off. Brian Lewis calling the holding penalty on Rick Tocchet, so he goes back to where he came, the penalty box. The place to stay for exclusive coverage of the Stanley Cup is USA.
After tonight's game, when the teams hit the showers, they'll turn on that hot shower. They'll flick a switch here in the Northlands Coliseum, and for the last time this year, the ice will be melted at the Northlands Coliseum. They'll crank up the Zamboni one last time, and they'll scoop off all that loose snow and dump it here. And on comes the hot water, and they'll flush this ice surface that has carried the Stanley Cup champions all season long right down the drain. Back to you, Al.
And right now, the Oilers with another man advantage. Rick Tocchet, 2 minutes for holding at 6:44. The Flyers just fending off an Edmonton power play. The Oilers, who have the power play in gear, scoring 4 of 7 attempts in game number 4. After having just 1 goal in their first 14 power plays in the series. But there goes the power play. Equalized. Brian Lewis calls the penalty on Edmonton.
No, I think it's Mark Messier that's going to the penalty box for hooking, and as Al just stated, that takes care of the Oilers' power play and gets the Philadelphia Flyers out of some danger for the time. Let's see exactly why Messier will get that penalty. Hooking was the call. Well, here it is. We're finally going to see it. Mark Messier doing some work in the corner, and it's number 20, Dave Poulin, that he hooks and pulls down.
Well, Dave Poulin, perhaps, with some theater courses at Notre Dame. Well, he helps out the cause as the team's now at equal strength. We have 12 minutes, 50 seconds left in the second period. Mark Howe weaving into the Edmonton zone. Murray Craven rolls it in the slot. That quick stick by Coffey looking for Gretzky. Gretzky makes chase along with Klossman, who plays it back the other way away from Gretzky. Ron Sutter onto the stick of Craven. He has Sutter in front, and it is Honey making the block. Coffey between 2 Flyers gets it out. Hits Gretzky on the wing. Gretzky cuts into the middle, looking for Coffey, but the pass behind. Here is Foegele closing in. Curry slaps it into the corner for Gretzky, making the move on Howe.
That move way back in the Oilers' end zone with Coffey coming out, that's what makes the Oilers difficult to beat. They do the unexpected. Not too many defensemen are going to come out in front of their own net with 2 Flyer players right there, but Paul Coffey does. He's very confident.
And Yari Curry puts that one all the way into the crowd. Didn't mean to. Try to stick it in the corner. Curry now has tied Reggie Leach for most goals scored in the playoff year, 19 on his first shot tonight.
Well, let's take a look at Paul Coffey. You can see that the 2 Flyer players are right there and on him. He really only has one alternative. He's got a couple if he wants to shoot the puck around the boards either side, but he wants to carry that puck out. He did exactly that, set up the play as he so often does, and then the Oilers come right into the Flyers' end zone and get a chance to set up. So that is where the value of Paul Coffey is, rushing that puck out of his own end zone, and that leads to so many offensive opportunities for the Oilers.
And here could be one. But Marsh takes it away. 15 seconds in the penalty to Tocchet, 35 in the penalty to Messier. Here's Propp coming in. Propp unable to get the shot off as Lindstrom came back to bother him. Foegele ahead to Anderson, who played it ahead on his skates. Propp the other way with Poulin. And the man coming out of the penalty box is Tocchet. Tocchet belts Gregg. Lowe gets it away from 2 forechecking Flyers. Flyers on a power play for but 10 seconds. We have 11 minutes to go in this second period. 4-1, the Oilers lead. Coffey with 2 goals. Zezel making the moves, but watched all the way by Gregg. The steal by Messier. Messier along with Billy Carroll. Messier scores!
Flyers trying to hang on to possession of the puck. All of a sudden, they give it up because of a costly error, and that's when the Oilers take advantage of you. They pick your game apart from every zone out on the ice. Mark Messier just threads the needle. Good shot by Messier. Watch him as he's coming in. He takes that puck and he goes from his backhand on it to his forehand and then just flicks those wrists. Let's watch Messier. Here he comes. Last year's Conn Smythe Award trophy winner, Mark Messier, puts it right along the ice in that corner. Great shot.
And you know, that goal gives him 11 goals and 12 assists in the playoffs. In this one, almost approaching what he accomplished last year as the most valuable player. 5-1, Edmonton now leads. Messier, his 11th of the playoffs at 9:18, and Bob Froese unable to get that skate out and kick it out. Here's the backhand by Derek Smith. Don Jackson puts that on net. Fuhr had to stop that with a pad. McClellan, long pass. Hunter fires, and that goes wide. 10 minutes into the second period. 5-1 now. The Oilers have matched their highest output of this series against Philadelphia. And this crowd gets more and more electrified as the Oilers start putting more on the scoreboard. Here is Curry breaking out with Gretzky and Krushelnyski. It goes to Gretzky, back to Krushelnyski. Scores!
Wayne Gretzky and Mike Krushelnyski here are just picking the Flyers apart, and especially Bobby Froese. Let's watch. Great play here by Krushelnyski, though. He could have shot the puck as soon as he got it from Gretzky, but instead he hangs on. He shows some tremendous patience here, but he also knew that he was going to try to make sure that Bobby Froese was going to go down. Froese did that. Rather than shooting right away, he waits. Now Froese is completely down, and Mike Krushelnyski just rings that puck right upstairs, right under the crossbar.
Krushelnyski, who scored the winning goal in game number 3, makes it 6-1 in favor of the Edmonton Oilers. Right in front, Joe Patterson shoots it wide. And Krushelnyski starts out with Gretzky. Gretzky over the line, looking for Curry. Poke checked away. And now the Flyers come back, but don't get very far. Gretzky, 2-on-1. Gretzky passes it right in front, and Krushelnyski misses the perfect setup. For our local systems, we'll pause now. You're watching the Stanley Cup Playoffs live on USA.
What would a trip to the Northlands Coliseum be without a kubasa on a bun? Gabby, can I see one of these kubasas? That's just a hot dog. You guys have Philly cheesesteaks here?
A Philly cheesesteak? What's that? I don't know what it is.
So you never even heard of it?
Never heard of it.
All right. Strange cuisine here at the Northlands Coliseum, Alan Gary.
Strange cuisine. Hey, Al Trotwig. Well, I think right now that Mike Keenan, what's going through his mind may be the biggest decision so far for him in coaching. Whether or not you leave Bobby Froese in there, stand the chance of him being embarrassed, and what does that do to his confidence going into even next season, if that is still what teams are thinking? Or do you put Darren Jensen in, who hasn't seen any NHL action all year long? Tough decision.
8 minutes and 44 seconds to go. Certainly would be unfair to a Darren Jensen who hasn't played an NHL game for the Flyers this season. Played all year in Hershey, and he is the backup goaltender because of the injury to Pelle Lindbergh. So the Oilers in convincing fashion here. We are just midway through the game, and they lead the Flyers 6-1. And the crowd getting louder and louder, chanting, "The cup stays here."
Well, that's what these fans here in Edmonton love. We've seen that before during the course of the playoffs. 3-2 hockey game, 4-2 hockey game. They practically boo the Oilers off the ice. They want a kill, and that's when they're happy. And we saw that during the course of the Chicago series. In game number 1 here, the fans really came alive as soon as the Oilers start getting 6, 7, 8, and 9 goals.
Well, in the Chicago series, the Oilers hit the double-figure mark on 2 occasions. 10 goals in one game, 11 in the other. Last time as many as 11 goals was scored was back in 1944 by the Montreal Canadiens. Marsh puts it in, and it is Zezel. Loses to Napier, who in turn loses. Zezel without his stick, trying to get the whistle and the face-off in the Edmonton end, and he does, with 8 minutes and 15 seconds left in the second period.
I mentioned that being a difficult decision for Mike Keenan if, in fact, the Oilers were to score, say, another goal. The reason it's so difficult is because Mike Keenan hasn't been in this situation before, nor have many coaches in the National Hockey League involved in the Stanley Cup Finals, and so you just hope that situation doesn't come about, that you are getting to the embarrassment point. But with a 6-1 lead here, and we're just a little over halfway through this game, boy, the Oilers stand a good chance of scoring a few more goals.
The Flyers won the first game of the series, and the Oilers now, in essence, looking for the 4-game sweep. McClellan plays it across to Randy Gregg. And here is McClellan right in front, and it's intercepted by Philadelphia. Rich Sutter, and he is jammed in the boards by Don Jackson, and Sutter puts his glove in the face of Jackson. Now a penalty coming up, and it's against Philadelphia. Here's Dave Hunter. Shoots. Throws. You saw his first indication was to check behind him to see if it was in the net.
He had no idea where it was. Meanwhile, Rich Sutter was involved in a little bit of action.
We hope you're enjoying the Stanley Cup playoffs here on USA Sports, and we'll be back in a moment.
Rich Sutter is in the penalty box for the Philadelphia Flyers, and so is Kevin McClellan for the Edmonton Oilers. They both received 2-minute minors. Let's take a look at the action down in the Edmonton Oilers end zone, and just off to the right of your screen, you could see Rich Sutter and Kevin McClellan going into the boards. Referee Brian Lewis decided that he would just send them both off. Sutter for cross-checking, Rich Sutter that is, and Kevin McClellan for roughing, all at the 12:23 mark.
Well, if Mike Keenan and the Flyers come back in this one, you will be seeing one of, if not the greatest comebacks in Stanley Cup final history. They trail Wayne Gretzky and the Edmonton Oilers by 5. 7.5 minutes to go in the second period, and it is the great one, the captain of the Oilers, Wayne Gretzky, who has set all records here this year. He has 45 points in these playoffs in 18 games, more than anybody in NHL history for one playoff season. Charlie Huddy swings and misses. Now gets it ahead to Curry. Curry looking to become the first 20-goal scorer in a playoff year. After a 4-game drought, finally scoring here tonight. Number 19, the tie with Reggie Leach, the former Flyer. Prop twisting and turning on Curry, and he puts the soft shot on Fuhr. It has been a very delectable evening for Grant Fuhr. Not really tested by the Flyers tonight. And Brian Propp, who has but 1 goal and 1 assist in this playoff. And Gary, Mike Keenan thought he would be getting more from Brian Propp, who was the only Flyer to ever play in a final series back in 1980 when the Flyers faced the Islanders.
Well, yes, he definitely did expect that. And surprisingly enough, even though Brian Propp has had what you would consider a bad Stanley Cup Finals, he is still leading this team in points in the overall playoffs.
That's with 7 goals and 10 assists, 17 points in 19 games. Howe right in front. Sinisalo's shot is wide. The puck lodged on the net, and we will have a face-off. Sinisalo, another one of the Flyers struggling.
Well, I thought that maybe his shoulder, which he injured earlier in this series, was going to affect Sinisalo's play perhaps throughout the course of this series. But Mike Keenan felt that, well, yes, he does have a bruised shoulder, but he should still be producing more than he has been producing. And when you are not getting that type of production from 2 key people like Propp and Sinisalo, and of course remember Tim Curry, your 54-goal scorer, is out of the lineup, then you are in trouble offensively.
Those are your 3 top scorers for the season. Propp had 43, Sinisalo had 36 goals. Sinisalo is poised and ready, trying to get the draw from Craven.
I had mentioned, and I have to correct myself, the fact that if Keenan were to pull Bobby Froese, he would have to put Darren Jensen in. Darren Jensen did play a game this year for the Philadelphia Flyers. He played 1 game. That was at New York Islanders back on February the 5th. It was a 7-5 loss, so he has had a little NHL experience this year.
From the point, and Sinisalo almost got the stick on that one. Mark Howe goes back for it. Erickson plays it across. Craven drops it, and it's overskated by Sinisalo. The Oilers bust back the other way. It is Gretzky weaving in and out of traffic. and he floats it in. 6.5 minutes to go in this second period. The long pass onto the stick of the Flyers ahead. It goes to Craven. Markell being checked by Anderson. And Don Jackson takes it off the boards. Jackson ahead to Anderson. Messier stick handling the puck. Great wrists, handles that puck so well. Anderson steps in. Froze from side to side, waiting for Anderson. And now Froze just dives out on the puck with 5:54 left in the second period. 17 seconds to go in the dual penalties.
I think the Flyer players realize right now that they have to dig down a little deeper. They are injured, they are tired, but they can't let this game get any more out of hand than it already is. They have to give Bobby Froze some help. The players surely have got to feel sorry for the fact that Bobby Froze had to come in against the Edmonton Oilers in this game. Peter Pocklington doesn't feel sorry for the Philadelphia Flyers the least bit. He is the very happy owner of the Edmonton Oilers.
With a 5-goal lead as he checks out the scoreboard. Certainly knows what the arithmetic is. 3-1. His Oilers lead the Philadelphia Flyers. Looking for video replay from last year when they took the Islanders in 5 games. This Oiler team growing up from 2 years ago when they faced the Islanders in the finals and were swept in 4 games. The face-off to the right of Froze. 5:54 left in the second period. Hospodar shoots it out. And it is Charlie Huddy chasing back, and will go back to the same spot. Gary, how much have the Oilers grown up from 2 years ago when they were swept?
I think a lot. They have grown up a tremendous amount. Well, there is Darren Jensen, by the way. Before we get back to that question, Al, he is the backup goaltender tonight. And that, of course, is because Pelle Lindbergh is injured. Well, Troutwig got all of that information in between the first and second periods. Getting back to that question and regarding the maturity of the Edmonton Oilers, they were a very cocky, confident bunch, and they were criticized heavily for that a few years ago. But I think they have learned their lessons. It always helps when you win a Stanley Cup. You grow up a great deal, I think, when you compete for the Stanley Cup, and when you win it, you grow up that much more.
Derek Smith, one of the youngsters on the Flyers. The Flyers now the youngest team in the NHL. Coffey pokes it ahead as the 2 players come out of the penalty box. Lindstrom, 19, chases for the puck for Edmonton. Now it is Marsh with McClellan wrapping him up. Right in front, kicked out by Froze. Rebound, and it's blocked by Marsh, who has to lead the NHL in black and blue marks.
Brad Marsh is doing his part in trying to keep that puck away from Bobby Froze right now. Dave Hunter, who I talked to before the game, I thought that Dave Hunter, and I still do think that he's playing some of his best hockey in the playoffs. He's skating very well out there, and I asked him why, and in fact, was my perception correct? And he said, yeah, he really did feel good in this Stanley Cup Finals, and he said, you know, I had a tough season. I just really didn't have any regular line mates, and he said things really didn't go all that well for me, and I just really felt good about this Stanley Cup Finals, and once we got here, things have gone a lot better for me. I think that he is really a big part of this hockey club, but doesn't get a lot of recognition.
Wayne Gretzky right in front. See him put it between his legs. Krushelnyski stick handling it, trying to get away from Mark Howe and unable to do so. Howe gets it out. 5 minutes left in the second period. Tocchet can't get by Kevin Lowe. And now it is Gretzky, 2-on-2 with Krushelnyski. Gretzky formulating in his mind, what's he going to do? He has Krushelnyski in front, and Crossman takes it away. 4.5 minutes left in the second. 6-1, the Oilers leading the Philadelphia Flyers. Froze whips it around. Napier jumps on the puck, gets it back to Gretzky. Right in front, and Froze freezes it.
Just prior to that play by Gretzky, he had a good opportunity. At least he was trying to set that one up. But right now we've got a little skirmish going on in the corner. We may see a few more of those as this game goes on, if it still remains this large of a distance between the two teams on the scoreboard. Gretzky just set up an excellent play. He does it because he has the abilities to beat players one-on-one, and then that forces the opposition on a 2-on-2 situation, which that pass one was. He really forces the second player to come towards him. This time it didn't quite work for Gretzky, not at least the initial time. Now Gretzky was in his office behind the net, and he was trying just to get that puck out in front. He likes to sometimes just play those bank passes. Just throw it right at a player's legs, hoping that it may bounce off into the net. And from that position, it's not a bad idea.
Play back in as Fuhrer deflects that puck away. Each team now a man down. Patterson goes off for Philadelphia. Anderson for Edmonton, both for roughing. Time 15:36 in the second period. Doug Crossman winding it out of his own zone. The long pass is too long. And it is Coffey racing back. And the touch of the icing. Well, Gary Green, who do you think is now ahead in the Conn Smythe voting? Well, we'll get to that in a while. Let's go to Al Troutman.
All right, Al, that certainly should be an interesting battle for the Conn Smythe Trophy, and that could be determined very soon in the voting. In the meantime, I'm looking ahead to the second intermission, where Wayne Gretzky's romantic interest, Vicki Moss, a very successful entertainer in her own right, will be my guest. After that, another edition of Dan Kelly Remembers. He'll take us back to the first Islanders Stanley Cup victory. You remember who they beat then, the Philadelphia Flyers. Back to you.
And the matchup of the coaches. Mike Keenan, the rookie coach on the left of the Flyers. Glenn Sather of the Oilers on the right. Sather, who has 3 Smythe Division crowns, 3 Campbell Conference crowns. In the finals the last 3 years, going for a second cup. Never voted executive or coach of the year in the NHL.
And now that is a real shame. Mike Keenan right now one of the finalists for this year's coach of the year, and very deservingly so, but yet Glenn Sather is just as deserving, and it seems that they always ignore the Stanley Cup champion coaches.
Coffey gets it ahead to Gretzky, fires, and it rings off the post. What a sweet ring to the ears of Bobby Froese. And Philadelphia, possible 2-on-1, but Smith having problems collecting the puck. 3 minutes, 17 seconds left in the second. Here is Coffey, angling in, right in front. Shot, score, Gretzky.
This Edmonton team is flying, boy. They can really cause you some nightmares. Wayne Gretzky, he puts this one away, but again, tic-tac-toe passing. That's what Mike Liut talked about in the early part of the game. They had to stop, and they, being the Philadelphia Flyers, had to stop that from happening in front of Bobby Froese. Let's watch here. The backhand pass over to Wayne Gretzky. And Gretzky just caught Bobby Froese way over to the middle of his net. Let's watch Paul Coffey, first of all, as he so often does, carries the puck way in deep, throws that puck back to the middle of the ice. And then Gretzky ends up with it. Jari Kurri just throwing that backhand pass over to Gretzky. And, of course, Jari Kurri doesn't have eyes in the back of his head, but playing with Wayne Gretzky long enough, you know where he's going to be.
Coffey and Kurri get the assists. 16:49 is the time of the goal, and now the total is 7 for the Oilers and 1 for the Flyers. So Gretzky now with a goal and 2 assists, Coffey with 2 goals and 1 assist, and Kurri gets his 3rd assist of the night along with a goal.
I had mentioned earlier that Wayne Gretzky always does some amazing things, it seems, when his mom and dad come all the way from Brantford, Ontario to see him play. Well, they made that trip today along with 2 of his brothers. And Wayne is not going to disappoint them.
And here they come again. Coffey streaking in to Gretzky. He shoots. Saved by Froese. He stopped him that time. It's like a game out on the pond right now. Coffey and Gretzky enjoying their act tonight. And at the same time, the 2 are battling one another for the Conn Smythe Trophy as the most valuable player in the playoffs. And that is one award that Wayne Gretzky has not achieved in his sterling career. Huddy, the back pass. 2 minutes, 20 seconds to go. Second period. It is Gretzky dancing in. He fires off the pad of Froese, who was startled by that shot. Gretzky looking in front. He has Randy Gregg, but it's blocked by the defense. It has become a veritable shooting gallery for the Oilers. Gretzky again heads in. Gretzky turned around by Derek Schmidt. Stays on the puck. Napier in front. And Brad Marsh comes out for the Flyers. Marsh trying to slip through the defense. And we get a whistle. And a chance for the crowd here to erupt. The dazzling play of their Oilers on their way to their second straight Stanley Cup. With a minute 41 to go in the second period. Bob Froese beaten 7 times by the Oilers tonight.
Bobby Froese has been quite evident that his reflexes and his quickness have just not been there tonight, and you can't fault him because he has not played very much. Even when he did come in the other night, he took a shot right on the chest, he said, that he didn't even see, and he has taken a few of those shots tonight that he didn't see and didn't know where they went afterwards.
Froese, of course, who has been itching to get in, he was splitting the duties with Lindbergh before Froese underwent arthroscopic knee surgery in December. Then Lindbergh stepped in, and you can hardly remove him from the net, as he has been brilliant this year. A minute 25 left in the second period. Oilers have added 3 goals here in the second. Messier, stick handling out. Mark Napier shoots it to Anderson. He's decked. And Joe Patterson flips it to center ice. 1 minute left now in the second. Brad Marsh, who has a heart as big as the Stanley Cup. He has really been an inspiration to watch in this series. The Flyers have been hurting just as the Blackhawks were when they were beaten by the Oilers, just as the Winnipeg Jets without their top man, Dale Howardchuk. So injuries by opponents have really helped the Oilers in this Stanley Cup playoffs. Not that that made the ultimate difference, but certainly a factor in their ride all the way through.
Long ways from being over yet, but with this score 7-1, things don't look healthy for the Philadelphia Flyers. You just got a glimpse there of Murray Craven, somebody you've seen a great deal during the course of this Stanley Cup playoffs, and the Edmonton Oilers have seen an awful lot of Murray Craven. When you look at all these young players on the Philadelphia Flyers, you just got to think, though, that this hockey club could well be back a number of times during the course of the next decade to compete for the Stanley Cup. Of course, Washington Capitals and Buffalo Sabres and all the other great teams in that conference are going to have something to say about that, but the Philadelphia Flyers have had an amazing year.
A team that was picked for 4th place in their division, behind the Islanders, Washington, and the Rangers, getting all the way to the finals. More points than any team in the NHL this year. Howe, right in front, Rich Sutter, rebound, and Fuhrer covers it up, as Dave Brown just did not have any room left at the side of the net with 5 seconds left.
We hope that Dave Brown stays out of it, because the last thing we want to see in a Stanley Cup final game is really a blowout. But if you're going to have a blowout, then let's make sure that we don't have any fights and brawls to go along with that. Watch the shot here by Mark Howe. And then number 15, Rich Sutter, tried to get in there. 21, Dave Brown really shot from a terrible angle. Let's watch it. Here comes the shot. It never quite got to Grant Fuhrer. Rich Sutter tried. He finally got it on net. The rebound came out, but you could see the position that Dave Brown was in. He was back behind the goal line, so you're not going to score on those opportunities too often, not from that position.
Grant Fuhrer, who did not play against the Flyers in the regular season, as Philadelphia won all 3 games from Edmonton this year. And this is number 5 for Fuhrer against the Flyers in the playoffs. He has given up 2.5 goals. Dual penalties have been called. Dave Brown goes off for Philadelphia, and Kevin McClellan for Edmonton. Roughing penalties at 19:55.
Seemed to be some confusion down there as Brian Lewis was signaling, or at least talking to the players, because there are no players in the penalty box right now, even though McClellan and Billy Carroll have, or Brown I should say, have been assigned penalties. They've gone to the bench, but not the penalty bench.
Well, and they had 5 against 5. Now it's 4 and 4. 2 players have already gone to their dressing room. Yeah, with 5 seconds to go. Messier will step in to take this draw against Peter Zezel. 5 seconds left in the second period. And that should do it. Well, no, they pin it with 1 second left. The shots on goal in this second period, the Oilers, it has been a shooting gallery with 17.
Well, there's still a second remaining on the clock, and so that face-off is going to have to go in the Oilers' end zone. It'll just be a drop of the puck, and that'll be it.
So that ends the second period as the Oilers continue to pour it on. 17 shots for the Oilers. That gives them 29 through 2 periods. The Flyers had 8 shots on goal in this period. That gives them 15 through the first 2 periods of play. So far, individually, Wayne Gretzky and Yari Curry, each with a goal and 3 assists, and Paul Coffey with 2 goals and 1 assist. We start this third period with Dave Brown in the penalty box for the Flyers, Kevin McClellan in the penalty box for the Oilers for another minute and 50 seconds. And we are underway to the third period and the final 20 minutes of this NHL season, unless a miracle's in the offing. A great save by Froese as he robs Glenn Anderson right off the bat, just 18 seconds into this third period. The save of the night for Bobby Froese.
Watch Froese. He started this third period, and he is determined that he's going to try and keep these Edmonton Oilers off the scoreboard. That's a big challenge. Watch Froese. He's standing up. He's got the angle cut down, and now he comes up with that save. I've got to agree totally with Mike Liut. I mentioned that it's a decision the coach has to make, but Mike Keenan doesn't want to pull Bobby Froese in this situation and put in Darren Jensen. There's just no way.
Kevin Lowe along the boards. He looks in front, goes behind a Messier. Fakes the slap shot. Messier walking in. Kicked out by Froese. And it is Maury Craven who has been the bright spot for the Flyers here in Edmonton. And Craven draws the penalty. Just 38 seconds into the third period. Mark Messier gets the gate. Coast-to-coast coverage of the Stanley Cup playoffs only on USA Sports.
Didn't take long for Mark Messier to end up with a penalty. Start of this third period. 2 minutes for hooking was the call. 38 seconds is the time. And there's the hook taking place on number 32, Murray Craven. Craven goes down, and Messier goes to the penalty box.
And he sits next to Kevin McClellan, who still has a minute 17 to go, and the dual penalty with Dave Brown. So a 4-on-3 situation for the Flyers, who need 6 goals to tie.
Good play by Zezel. He tried to go right through Yari Curry, but Yari Curry just stood in his way, as a good center iceman should. Yari Curry isn't a center iceman, though.
Mark Howe goes in deep. Zezel plays it around to Bergen, who has a rocket shot. Cross ice to Pop. Bergen lets it fly. And Fuhr able to fight through the screen to make the save.
Same as usual for Fuhr. He hasn't had to make a lot of big saves, but he has been there when called upon, except for once tonight.
Paul Coffey backhands it ahead to Curry, who finally snapped out of the drought. He had not scored in this series until tonight. He notched the first goal just 4 minutes, 54 seconds in. Prop cuts in, tripped up, no call made there, and here comes Curry. Curry makes the move. Bergen getting back, and he's able to thwart Curry. Coffey, he is bumped. Remember, the Flyers are a man up, 4-on-3. Brian Prop all alone with 2 Oilers back. Prop watched by Gretzky. Prop walks right in, but we have a whistle all the way back the other way. A disturbance in front of Bobby Froese.
Ron Finn was back there as the play was going on back in the Oilers' end zone. It was Paul Coffey and Peter Zezel that were involved in the skirmish. Coffey fell on Zezel, and that just continued. The play had to have gone on for another 20 seconds. It was just some holding. Coffey just fell on Zezel, but he just stayed there. And, of course, Zezel didn't appreciate it. There was a lot of wrestling going on. Ron Finn finally whistled the play in order to try and break these two up.
Well, Paul Coffey into ice impressions, trying to make the impression of Zezel's face in the ice.
I think Brian Lewis, for the officials right now, their biggest concern is that they keep this game in hand, that the Philadelphia Flyers don't get overly frustrated and try to take it out by means of stick work, and especially by means of fighting. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that the Philadelphia Flyers have got a lot of class, and Mike Keenan isn't about to let his players do that.
So Paul Coffey ends up in the penalty box, and even there, he has plenty to smile about. 43 seconds to go, and the Oilers' penalty to Mark Messier.
A penalty to Philadelphia's number 25,
So
Peter Zezel, and to the Oilers' number 7, Paul Coffey. 2 minutes each for roughing. The time, 1 minute 55 seconds.
Now, you saw that smile on Paul Coffey's face. I'd love to know what Mark Messier said to him when he came back over to the penalty box.
Right in front, and the Flyers score on the power play. And it's 7-2. Mark Howe, who in this third period has been rushing the net, and they beat Grand Fjord.
Pretty unexpected goal right from the faceoff here. Watch. Actually, it wasn't Poulin that won it. I think the Oilers threw it back, and when it came to the point, they just let it go right away. Let's watch it from behind Grant Fuhr, and you can see his angle. Deflection in front of the net. Fuhr didn't really have much chance on that.
They may give it to Brian Propp. And that's exactly who gets it. Propp got the stick down and the tip. And it's a 7-2 to hockey game. 17:50 left in this third period. And it is whistled down. The team's now at equal strength. The time 1:59 in the third. Propp gets his 8th of the playoffs, just his 2nd in this series. Howe and Poulin get the assist. It is a power play goal.
Well, every little bit helps, but I'm sure Brian Propp, who didn't seem overly excited after having scored that goal, just wishes the puck had gone in the net for him a little sooner in this series.
Flyers wish that this was the start of the game. Froze with a spectacular save on Anderson in the first minute of this third period, and now Propp with a goal. Rich Sutter, who has the other goal for the Flyers. And he starts out, gets around one man, now Lindstrom on him. Don Jackson, number 29 for the Oilers, goes back for it. Ed Hospodar behind the net. Rolls it in front, and it's cleared out. And now Lindstrom busts out along with Dave Hunter. It is Lindstrom who has won tonight. And he is flattened by Marsh. McClellan keeps it alive. McClellan gets around Ron Sutter, tries to stuff it in, and Froze finally gobbles it up. It's the place to stay for live Stanley Cup coverage. USA Sports. The prophetic signs being held by the Oiler fans here. The cup stays here.
Watch McClellan behind the net. He's trying to work his way. He avoided a check, and now he's going for that short side. Just didn't get it. Bobby Froze comes up with the save and then goes down and makes his second save right along that goal crease line.
Froze had played a combination of 55 minutes against the Oilers, allowing but one goal. But as Gary and Mike Liut have talked, certainly in a different type of a situation. Mark Howe rushes it out for Philadelphia. Fuhr gets into the act, gets another swack at it. Fuhr loves to use that stick. One season he had 14 assists. And here is Fuhr again, almost getting in trouble. And the moves by Messier comes all the way down. We have 16:39 left in the third period, right in the crease, and touched by Crossman. So the faceoff will come deep in the Edmonton end.
Okay, now you're the Philadelphia Flyers. How do you approach this third period? Do you go out there and just forget about the score, try to win the period? Or does Mike Keenan maybe come up with something innovative? You got nothing to lose. You're down 7-2. Sure, maybe the Edmonton Oilers will pick you apart and they'll score some more goals. Anything's possible, but of course, when anything is possible, it might be possible too if you start throwing all 5 of your Philadelphia Flyers at them. Maybe try to outnumber them a little bit closer to the net. You get 1, you might get 2, and you might bring things a little bit closer. You never give up. There's always a first time.
And here is Messier busting in. Score!
You lay back and play regular hockey with 2 men in forechecking, the 3rd man back and your defenseman back. They're going to score on you anyway. The Oilers, they are on top of their game tonight. Watch Bobby Froese. Put yourself in his position right now. Mark Messier is coming in on top of you. And Mark Messier can put the puck in the net pretty easily. He hasn't done that so much during the course of the regular season this year. He had an off year, but he loves playoffs.
Well, the Oilers don't want to give up the Stanley Cup. Messier may not want to give up the Conn Smythe Trophy, which he won last year. He now has 2 goals and 2 assists in this game.
What a race we've got going for that Conn Smythe Trophy.
And it still could be up in the air, even though this game is not. Messier, 12th goal of the playoffs, unassisted at 3:39. A lot of time remaining, and this crowd is now revved up. They want their team to score double figures in this final game of the longest season in NHL history. Rich Sutter backhands in front. The congestion and Fewer being hit by Ron Sutter. And now we have a whistle, and Brian Lewis makes another penalty call.
It's Don Jackson that gets the penalty. 2 minutes for tripping was the call. 3:57 was the time. So face-off deep in the Oilers' end zone. The Philadelphia Flyers on the power play.
Flyers 6 goals behind. And you talked about how inventive Mike Keenan is. In basketball, they have the 3-point play. In hockey, no such thing. Hyde Markow as the Flyers come in. Howe zigzagging. And an offside. Markow is a big fan of Paul Coffey. He says he hopes Coffey gets the Norris Trophy as the best defenseman this year. Before Howe's injury, he felt that he played very much like Paul Coffey, but certainly has been hampered by the injury that almost cost him his life. Howe, who once went sliding into the metal piece that used to be in the bottom of the goal, was impaled by it, and it missed his spine by an inch. Would have never walked again. And here he is back on the ice in the Stanley Cup Finals. Mark Howe, number 2, waiting for that puck, but Bergen goes the other way. Crossman slaps it behind for Poulin. It floats in front. Here is Howe. Side of the net goes to Bergen. Bergen now fans back out to the point on the screen. A good shot by Bergen. Bergen has it again. And Coffey clears, and now it's Coffey and Gretzky busting out again. Coffey to Gretzky. And he had some trouble by Crossman. In front, Curry's shot. And Froese comes way out to reject that one. 1-on-1 for the Flyers. Brian Propp looking for help. In the slot, kicked away by Fuhr. And it is Gretzky now, weaving out for the Oilers. 14.5 minutes still remaining in this third period. The Oilers in convincing fashion, 8-2 over the Flyers.
When you've got a penalty killing unit as great as the Edmonton Oilers, boy, you take away from the other team's power play just because they are thinking about that constantly. Every time the power play unit goes out there against these Oilers, they are thinking about getting scored on shorthanded, and that takes away from the concentration of their own power play.
25 shorthanded goals this year for the Oilers. Gretzky had 11 of them, which is 3 more than the power play goals that Gretzky scored this year. Sinisalo, who is flying. Eriksson unable to get this shot off. A dud from the blue line. And Craven chases it down with Fogelin on him. Napier clearing with the teams now at equal strength. He has Anderson on his right. Eriksson goes to Craven. Blocked by Napier. Ron Sutter trying to feed it through. The Oilers led by Billy Carroll. And Brad Marsh wheeling away from Hughes. Marsh gets around Semenko. Garrett Smith coming in. And the crowd responding to the crunching check by Edmonton. And Hospodar. And this is Rich Sutter heading in. He shoots, he scores. Rich Sutter scores his second goal of this game. And it is now the Oilers 8 and the Flyers 3. With 12:55 still remaining. Rich Sutter walks in.
I had said at the start of this hockey game, early in the first period, that Mike Keenan would play the Sutters an awful lot tonight because he just thinks they're such great winners. Well, Rich Sutter has proven that in tonight's game anyway. He has never quit, neither has his brother Ron. This time, Rich Sutter once again threads the needle there, beats Grant Fuhr. That's not easy to do, the way that Fuhr has played. And Rich Sutter gets his second of the evening.
He had 6 goals all season long for the Flyers. And he gets his third of the playoffs. Actually, the third of this series, 4th of the playoffs. So Rich Sutter, along with twin brother Ron, part of the Sutter heritage, who grew up just 80 miles away from Edmonton, Alberta, in Viking. Derek Smith gets the assist. The time of the goal, 7:05. 8-3, the Oilers leading it. Could this one explode to an incredible slugfest before it's over? Paul Coffey back skating with Zezel right on him. Willie Lindstrom, 3 goals in the 5 games of this series for Edmonton. And it is slapped in. Marsh. Dave Brown plays it off the boards. Huddy and Lowe back on the defense for the Oilers. McClellan looking in front. Lindstrom, quick shot. Stopped by Hospodar. Brown onto the stick of Poulin. Poulin trying to split the defense, but that veteran crew back there won't allow it. 11 minutes, 50 seconds left in the third period. Rick Tocchet shoots it in. And Lowe sends it on the left wing boards. Gretzky picks it up. Here is Gretzky over the line. As a penalty has been called, it is Lowe for the Oilers, and Poulin squaring off. Now Rick Tocchet comes in to the aid of Poulin. Lowe continues to talk to Poulin. The score, the Oilers 8, the Flyers 3. Who will win the Conn Smythe Trophy as the most valuable player in the playoffs?
I really think it's come down to Wayne Gretzky and Paul Coffey, and that is a real tough decision. Of course, Wayne Gretzky has won this Edmonton team some key games if you look at it from the goal-scoring department. On the other hand, look at it from the assist department, and Paul Coffey has had an amazing series. And when it comes right down to it, the more that Paul Coffey rushes with that puck out of his own end zone, the less the Philadelphia Flyers have an opportunity to stay in there and shoot at Grant Fuhr. So, I don't know. I wouldn't want to have to make that decision if it was a tie vote.
Well, Gretzky has shattered the scoring record for the playoffs. Plus, in this series, he has really come up with the key goals in games 2, 3, and 4. So that would be my nod. The Flyers now with the power play as Kevin Lowe is in the box for the high sticking at 8:23 of this third period. Poulin 20 on top of Coffey. And it comes out. Crossman being chased by Hunter. as the Edmonton Oilers with a big lead, but continue to be all over the Flyers. Zessel trying to get it out from under his feet. Fussman, he was sticked away, and Hunter for the Oilers. 27-year-old Dave Hunter. His brothers involved in an earlier series when Quebec, Dale Hunter went up against Montreal and Mark Hunter. Fogelin. And that comes all the way down. 45 seconds to go in the power play for the Flyers. Here is Bergen heading in. Sinisalo on top of the play. A goal here for Philadelphia makes it a 4-goal game with half of this third period still remaining. Bergen cannot reach it. Fogelin digging back for it. Touches it and will come all the way down. 20 seconds left in the power play for the Philadelphia Flyers. 8-3. The Oilers leading it in game number 5. Looking to wrap it up here tonight.
Coming into tonight's game, the Flyers had not given up more than 6 goals in a playoff game this year. The Islanders scored 6 against Philadelphia in a 6-2 win during the Patrick Division Finals, but it's a different story here tonight at Northlands, and Mike Keenan, Ted Sater, and E.J. McGuire, and of course, General Manager Bob Clark have done a tremendous job with this young hockey club this year, and they're not going to be satisfied with just having gotten to the finals. They're going to go back and do something about it, I'm sure, during the course of next season.
This is their 5th trip to the finals. They've won the Cup twice, back-to-back in the mid-70s. 5 seconds left on Lowe's penalty. Murray Craven digging in. Penalty is up, and now it is sent down. The Oilers hit double figures in scoring 2 times in the Chicago series, winning games 11-2 and 10-5 against the Blackhawks. 2 goals shy of double figures here tonight. McClellan bodied by Howe. Now Craven with Rich Sutter looking for the hat trick. Sutter right in front, and it is in the crease. Fuhr has it, and that one almost trickled by.
The pressure that has been applied by the Flyers tonight, most of it's been when Ron and Rich Sutter have been on the ice, once again holds true. Ron Sutter trying to throw that puck. Murray Craven right at the doorstep, but just too well covered to be able to do anything about it. Ron Sutter coming right into the play.
Grant Fuhr, who suffered a separated shoulder back on February 19th, missed several weeks. But the Oilers getting their money's worth with Fuhr now. He has played in the last 30 games. All 18 playoff games and the final 12 games of the regular season. Wayne Gretzky takes a spill. Now the Flyers with Marsh diving over low. Yari Curry behind Gretzky. He shoots as Froese was handcuffed by that shot. For our local systems, we'll pause now. It's the Stanley Cup playoffs only on USA Sports.
Wayne Gretzky had just come off the ice to go to the bench, but he remained there for about 2 seconds, and now he's right back out again. Long rest for Wayne Gretzky. You can see Gretzky here along with Ron Sutter. Ron Sutter just taking Gretzky out along the boards. Gretzky going down, and then a little bit of chirping was going on between the players on the ice.
And the crowd here at the Northlands Coliseum singing goodbye to the Flyers. We are 8.5 minutes away from the end of the longest season in NHL history. Started on October 11th. Here is Propp as he is crunched into the boards by Lowe. And here it is, May 30th, and game number 5 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Oilers wrapped it up on May 19th last year. 8-3, Edmonton with the lead. They scored 2 goals within 37 seconds in the opening minutes of play and set the tone very quickly. Crossman being watched in front by Krushelnyski. On the left wing to Joe Patterson. And it is Coffey who sends it out. Gretzky wheeling back. Gretzky being checked and taken down by Craven, and it's a penalty to Murray Craven. Number 99 hits the deck.
Murray Craven in the penalty box. 2 minutes for hooking was the call. 12:28 was the time, and let's watch in the middle of your screen. You will see Murray Craven hooking Wayne Gretzky. Gretzky goes down, and now this gives the Edmonton Oilers another opportunity on the power play. 7:32 to go in this game. The clock is ticking down.
Of the 8 goals for the Oilers, only 1 on the power play tonight in 4 attempts. Froze, gives a whack to Anderson. So the frustration getting to Froze. Anderson, who has been living in that crease with Froze tonight. Nothing subtle about that one.
People might say, why would Bobby Froze do that? Glenn Anderson just came in there, didn't appear to do anything to Bobby Froze, but it's called the even-up situation. I am sure that Glenn Anderson has given Bobby Froze in the 55 minutes he's played in this series so far, and tonight, some tough times in front of that net. Time for Bobby Froze to even up.
Page out of the book of Billy Smith. As Mike Keenan, the coach of the Philadelphia Flyers.
Well, that's a neat trick. The fans very inventive here in Edmonton. They have a chicken on a string. I think Brian Lewis, as soon as he sees that, might go over and choke that chicken.
I think some of the Flyers would like to do the same thing. The Flyers certainly on the string right now. They trail by 5, and Edmonton will have a 2-man advantage because Froze will get a penalty for that shot. A minute 50. Still remaining in the penalty to Craven, and now 2 minutes are on the boards for Bobby Froze. And the Oilers, by 5, have a 2-man advantage. You kind of like their chances in this one? The crowd up on its feet, cheering the defending Stanley Cup champions, looking to put their names on the Stanley Cup one more time. Grant Fuhrer looks up on the clock, just counting the minutes. 7:22 remaining.
You know, in some ways, it's kind of unfortunate for Grant Fuhrer that he hasn't had a lot more work because he, I think, was in the running for that trophy. But he just hasn't had the action tonight that Wayne Gretzky and Paul Coffey have been involved in. Again, the Conn Smythe Trophy up for grabs here in Edmonton.
So now the Oilers looking to spread the 3 Flyers out. Gretzky at a point. Cross ice, intercepted by Poulin, who has a breakaway. Poulin, 2 men down. Shoots, kick save made by Fuhrer. And a penalty coming up.
I think it's a penalty shot.
Will we see another one? We will return to sort it out here in Edmonton. And a penalty shot has been awarded. Record-breaking, second one in 2 games in this series. In the history of the Stanley Cup coming into this series, there have been only 2 penalty shots awarded in the final. Certainly not the drama of the penalty shot in the last game. Grant Fuhrer, who is shown to be terrific on breakaways, and his veins filled with ice water. Now getting ready for Poulin. This certainly would be the icing on the cake for Fuhrer if he could stop him. No pressure. They're up by 5 goals. And Dave Poulin will come in all alone on Fuhrer, who stopped Ron Sutter the last game. Here it is, Poulin versus Fuhrer. And he stopped another one.
Keenan was looking up at the clock. If he had his druthers, you know what he would rather have right now? The penalty instead. Pullen just waited so long that he took himself out of position, and then you could see the puck go flying high. Watch Pullen. He's got his head up. He's coming in. He's going to try to go to his backhand, but you could see the angle that he was at. Oh, it's literally impossible for him to be able to score on a backhand from that angle.
So Dave Pullen joins the list. No penalty shot of the 4 has ever been scored in the final series. Back to Virgil Johnson, Frank Mahovlich, Ron Sutter, and now Dave Pullen. And Fuhr goes in the record books, stopping the most penalty shots in one final.
The problem is now the Oilers come right back on their 5-on-3.
And Messier breaks in and just slides that one wide. The Oilers with a 2-man advantage. Curry in the slot. Gets it back to Gretzky. Curry. Knocked down by Prop. Anderson. Hits Coffey. Coffey. Cross to Curry. They have plenty of time. Gretzky moves in. Goes behind. And it is Pullen who sends it down. Fuhr on this play came out. On Sutter's, he kind of stayed back in the crease. Messier. Stick handling, collides with his own man. 6 minutes, 15 seconds left in the third period. Still 41 seconds on the 2-man advantage for the Oilers. Kept in by Curry. Anderson. Back it goes to Curry. Coffey. Curry fires. Save off the pads of Bobby Froese and cleared all the way down. 5 minutes, 50 seconds left. 16 seconds on the 2-man advantage for Edmonton. Running into themselves. Wayne Gretzky puts on the brakes. Fogelin back to Gretzky. Fakes the shot. Now he drives it. Saved by Froese. And that should do it with 5:25 left, and the team's now at equal strength. So the Oilers unable to connect on a 2-man advantage, and at the same time a penalty shot by the Flyers in that sequence, which was stopped by Fuhr. Actually, it was Fuhr who forced the off-target shot by Pullen. Lindstrom steps around March. Lindstrom pulls the trigger. Gobbled up by Froese. Ryan Lewis lost sight of the puck, and he whistles it down. 4 minutes, 55 seconds left in the NHL season. The Oilers 8, the Flyers 3. Well, whether that's a smirk or a sneer, it could be a smile now for Glenn Sather. He is 4 minutes, 55 seconds away from a second straight Stanley Cup, maybe away from the end of his coaching career. There's been rumors that he may step down and just remain as the president and general manager and hand over the coaching reins to his erstwhile assistant, John Muckler. Peter Zezel from behind his goal. As tonight in Game 5, Dave Brown and Don Jackson going at it. Leon Stickle, the linesman, dives right into the fray. Now it is McClellan pitting, I believe it is Hospodar, up against the boards. This is where it can get ugly, especially with Hospodar out there. If the Oilers were just waiting for revenge.
And that's exactly what we had hoped would not happen. I'm not sure of the whole sequence there, but right now I'm pointing the finger at Dave Brown and saying, look, he hasn't even played up until tonight. How could he possibly have had any rivalry going against Don Jackson?
You know what's incredible in the series? You know who has been a staunch defender of Hospodar? None other than McClellan. He says when he was KO'd by Hospodar, he thought it was a clean check.
Let's watch right along the boards here. I think as Jackson came in, you really can't blame either one of them, I guess, but they're going at it again. This time it's Brad Marsh. He's getting his licks in.
Figured that he'd be too tired to go through something like this. Ron Finn diving on Marsh to try to get that big defenseman off.
Sorry, I just cannot see any use in this whatsoever. I think it's extremely bad on both teams' parts right now that they want anything to do with fighting. 8-3, the score. What are you going to accomplish? What are you going to prove?
The darting eyes of Sather. Don Jackson, do you believe he wants more? Jackson involved in 2 of the fights, and he and Marsh still looking to go at it. Jackson's face looks like it's just been put through a meat grinder.
I can't say how much this distracts and takes away from the game. Of course, with an 8-3 score, it is a lopsided hockey game, but we sure don't need this to end up the Stanley Cup Finals. Mike Keenan up doing a little bit of yelling right now, and after actually we had seen the replay, you can't blame Brown any more than Jackson. Sather and Keenan doing some yelling back and forth right now.
So the 2 coaches here in the closing minutes, and Mike Keenan is explaining, I didn't send him out there. Sather says, look, there's only 4.5 minutes to go. What do we need this stuff for? The one advantage of all this, Gary, for the Edmonton Oilers, able to give more time to cool the champagne. It'll be nice and cold by the time they drink it after this game. So Don Jackson, who just looks like he went several rounds with Marvelous Marvin Hagler.
I don't see, Al, any reason for Dave Brown having been out there on the ice in the first place. He wasn't going to score 5 goals by any means. He only serves the purpose, really, of being an aggressive, tough man for the Philadelphia Flyers. What do you need a tough man on the ice when there's 4 minutes and 38 seconds to go in this hockey game and you're down 5 goals?
Wayne Gretzky, who has shattered the playoff scoring records, getting down to the final moments. Leading candidate for the Conn Smythe Trophy as the most valuable player, along with teammate Paul Coffey. Also some votes, I'm sure, for Grant Fuhr, the goaltender of the Oilers. Brian Propp, as play is underway after a long delay. Coffey onto the stick of Curry. Here's Coffey winding it out with Gretzky. Coffey puts on the brakes. And it is Mark Howe rounding the net with Gretzky hawking him. Curry right on the back of Howe, and he digs it away. Gretzky in the slot, low, robbed by the glove of Bobby Froese.
Kevin Lowe moved right in to the top of that circle. Didn't have much angle because Bobby Froese came way out to cut it down. Kevin Lowe just shot right at him. Froese makes the save. And the clock continues to tick down, but rather slowly. Let's watch, first of all, Mark Howe in along the corner. He's got to be getting pretty tired out there. He has played a lot of hockey in this finals.
Face-off to the right of Froese, who has come on here in the 3rd period, but much too late. Team skating 4-on-4, 3:54 left. Ron Sutter caroms it around. Fuhr. And chasing it down is number 11, Mark Messier. The Oilers will have gone throughout this playoff without losing at home. 10 straight victories on their home ice. Hospodar. He shoots it. And it goes wide. 3 minutes, 15 seconds to go in the game. Lee Fogelin rolls it in. And Ed Hospodar behind his net loses to Coffey. Coffey, the angle. Another glove save by Bobby Froese with 2:58 remaining in the third period. Gary Green is making his way downstairs, and Mike Liut has joined me for these final minutes. And Mike, a little bit too late for Bobby Froese, who's been plucking him out of the air.
Well, Bobby, he doesn't have much of an angle, and he makes his play at the net. Bobby Froese is in the right spot.
Again, a 4-on-4 situation. The Flyers will have a man advantage for some time in the closing minute. And it is Charlie Huddy playing it out. The Oilers now at 3-on-2. Dave Hunter, he lets the long one go. Lindstrom unable to get a piece of that one. And Crossman for Philadelphia. Zezel comes off the bench. 2 minutes, 20 seconds left. The long shot by Mark Howe. Zezel works in the corner. Tied up by Huddy. Huddy kicks it loose. And Wayne Gretzky, who has 4 points here tonight on a goal and 3 assists. Curry, who has 4 points on a goal and 3 assists. Messier, 2 goals and 2 assists. Coffey, 2 goals and 1 assist. And Mike, we were mentioning what happens when Wayne Gretzky actually reaches his peak.
Well, I think you're seeing him at his peak, and you must reiterate the supporting cast that he has. There's no way that he's going to do this all by himself. He's playing with 3 or 4 other great hockey players.
Well, the Oilers felt that they had to prove that they're not a one-man gang. Certainly helping to prove that in this playoff series. Wayne Gretzky with 1:39 left. Gretzky with Lowe on the left side. Gretzky weaving through and now brings it back out. 8-3, the Oilers leading the Flyers in Game 5, the final game of the Stanley Cup. The Oilers on their way to beating the Flyers 4-1, losing the first game in Philadelphia and coming back to win 4 in a row. 1:15 left. Aspinall. And it is Ron Sutter taken away by Fogelin. And the crowd just ready to stand and start to erupt. 1 minute left. Yari Curry wheeling back. Checked by Aspinall. And Coffey works it across. Dvorak. Craven. And it is poked away by Huddy. 37 seconds to go. The Oilers actually now in a power play. Gretzky has Anderson in front. Gretzky pouncing right on top of it. With 25 seconds to go. Derek Smith being watched by Coffey, who blocks it. You see the countdown. 15 seconds left. Glenn Sather being congratulated by owner Peter Pocklington. Time running down, the longest season in NHL history, coming to a close. For the second straight year, the Edmonton Oilers are the Stanley Cup champions, and the celebration begins. There is Coach Mike Keenan offering his hand, and Glenn Sather shaking the hand of Keenan, who he had words with moments ago, and Keenan may have added a couple there. Wayne Gretzky has some of the crowd pouring out onto the ice. Wayne Gretzky has won the Conn Smythe Trophy, one of the few honors to have escaped his grasp until now. Wayne Gretzky sewing it up tonight with a goal and 3 assists. And he ends the playoffs with a record 47 points. And his name now will be inscribed on the Conn Smythe Trophy. And now Mike Liut, the traditional handshake.
Always a controversy, the handshaking, maybe not so much in the finals, but that little skirmish at the end of the game, unfortunate, but that's all said and done. And when it is, there's nothing else to do. You give it your best shot, and you must congratulate the champions. Grant Fuhr, very big playoff series earlier on, kept his team in the early series against LA.
And the announcement has been made. The crowd erupts one more time. Wayne Gretzky, the Conn Smythe winner. You just saw Mark Napier of the Oilers passing through. Napier, who lost a tooth, had a couple others rearranged by Hospodar, and they shook hands.
Well, there's nothing else you can do about it. You're not going to start a war over it. All part of the game, and things like that you don't want to see happen, but when they do, there's no sense in pursuing it. The main objective here is the Stanley Cup, and you can't take away from that. The players don't. Once the final whistle's blown, it's in any other sport, namely football, you see the same thing. It's over, it's done with, and you just congratulate the winner and go back.
In their 6th year in the NHL, the Oilers to the finals 3 times, win the cup for the 2nd, and now they are gathering around the president of the National Hockey League, John Ziegler, for the official presentation, and you can see the excitement in the face of Wayne Gretzky as the
Happy 40. The Edmonton Oilers won the 2nd Stanley Cup. The 40th anniversary of the 2nd Stanley Cup championship is teamwork. Here's to the next 40 years of the Oilers Stanley Cup championship. To celebrate the 40-year tradition, here's a song to sing along when the Oilers' 40-year Stanley Cup championship. If you know the chorus, sing along.
Play, hey, hey, hey. They came to play. The boys of the ice came to play. Hey, hey, hey. Time to put the puck in the net. Time to skate the ice. Place your bets. These boys came to play. They're a threat. Hey, hey, hey. Time to let the champions in. Time to feel the crowd. In the net, time to skate the ice. Place your bets. These boys came to play. They're a threat. Hey, hey, hey.